Hey, I promised a new layout for Bible study. I promised some new things coming together behind me. And they are done. Everything is complete and we are ready to rock and roll. So I want to take just 2 quick seconds and talk through what we have right here. So I have been teaching a class at my church about how to read, study, and understand the Bible. And I thought it would be necessary to change the layout of this a little bit. Let's actually study. Let's spend some time looking at the notes that I've taken, getting our hands inside of the actual book. And that way, I'm studying while you're studying, and together we can get this done. Can't be a Bible tutor if you're not prepared to sit down and do the work together. So, this is the new layout. Sometimes it'll look a little different. But for the most part, this is where Bible study takes place. I have my favorite tools with me, all of my notes, and we are going to get started. We are still in Genesis chapter 27. I'm going to do my best to cover this entire story in one video because I don't want to mix it up and cut it. I want to make sure that we get it all out, all in the open, and we talk it through because my understanding on this is a little bit different than the way I was taught before. So, again, we are still in the first book of the Bible. We are in chapter 27, and we're going to cover verses 1 through 46 on this. So, it starts off with Isaac. Isaac is married to Rebekah. We've talked through all of this already. And he has two sons. They are twin boys, but very, very different in the way that they live and kind of move. And each parent has a child that they are closest to. Not that they have a favorite and they don't like the other one, but they actually have one that probably personality-wise they just understand a little better. And so in chapter 27, verse 1, it starts off with Isaac calling his son to him. And he says, Esau, come here. Esau answers him and comes, and he says, hey, I'm old. And I'm certain that I'm going to die soon. I have lived a whole long life, and it is now time for me to give you the blessing. It's time for me to bestow on you the thing that is going to prepare you to move into this next stage. When I leave, you are the oldest of my children. You are the one that's responsible. You are the one who knows me best and how I want this family to continue to be raised. I've taught you God. I've taught you everything that you need to know. And I am ready to put you as the new head of this family. And so he says, look, before this happens though, my eyes may be dim, but my taste buds are sharp. So he says, hey, can you take your bow and arrow, go out hunting and find me some venison. Get me some game. I want to eat something delicious. Come on back and I want you to cook it the way that you do. Fry me up a steak, make it real nice. Give me something good to eat. And so Esau goes out because he is going out to the field to go hunt and get this animal so that he can bring it back and cook it for his father. Now, Rebekah, who is Isaac's wife or Esau's mother, overhears this exchange. And she decides that she's going to help God out because God gave her a promise early on in her pregnancy that the younger son would be served by the older. He promised her that while she was still pregnant, and she has been doing everything in her power to prepare her son, Jacob, who is the second of the twins, to walk into this position. And so she overhears that. And in verses 7 through 10, she tells him what Isaac told Esau. She relays what she just explains what she overheard. And then she's like, hey, you're going to take him some food and you're going to go get this blessing. The mom cooks up this foolishness. Rebekah is responsible for the crazy that starts to go down. And so Jacob says to his mom, but my brother is hairy. Like, dad's going to know it's not me. And he's going to feel for my brother. He can't see well. I know he does this. He takes us each by our arms to feel and see if, the hairy, the one with the coarser arm hair is the one that is my brother. And my dad's going to know that. And so he's going to feel this and he's going to know that I'm trying to deceive him. And he's going to curse me instead of bless me. Ma, your plan's going to fail. This isn't going to work. And so his mom says in verse 13, whatever curse you think is going to happen, let it fall on me. I'm going to take the heat for this one. I'm going to deal with the consequences for this one for you, son, because this is what's going to happen. And she says, go get what I'm asking you to get. And she tells him to bring the food that his father likes. I already have. Go kill a goat and bring me the skin from this goat, this fur from this goat, and cook it up the way, you've been in the house, you've been in the kitchen all this time, you know how it's supposed to be cooked. So while your brother is still hunting this animal that he now has to bring home and dress and prepare to become food and butcher and all these other steps, we already cooking. So we're ahead of the game. And so in verse 14, he goes and he brings to his mother what she asked for. He brings her the food. He brings her this skin of this goat so that so she can do what she wants to do, like prepare her son Jacob to feel like Isaac. And so after this food is done, it says in verse 16 that she put the skins of the animals, the goat, she put the skin of the goat on his hands and on his neck. So on the back of his neck where he's smooth, she went ahead and put a coarser hair. And on his arms where he's smooth, she put this coarser hair from this goat. So she's roughed this up so he feels like this hairier version that is his brother. And then in verse 18, Isaac follows the instructions that his mother gave and walks into his father's room and attempts to deceive his father according to his mother's rules. And it says that he comes in and he talks to his father and he presents himself as Esau. And he says, oh, I'm Esau. I'm your firstborn son. I did what you asked me to do. I went and hunted down this animal. I cooked it up the way you liked it. And here I am to bring it to you. And then once you eat it, I want you to bless me. And so in verse 20, Isaac is like, wait a minute now. That was really fast. You a good hunter, but I don't know how good you are at this, that you were able to bring this food in this fast. And you had time to go through all these steps. You done went out to the field, hunted it, brought it back home. You have managed to butcher it, dress it, all these things, cook it still, and then bring it into me this quick. That was fast, friend. And so in verse 20, he's like, how did you get all this done? How were you so successful? How'd you find it so fast? And Isaac says, come here close. Let me test this out and see what's going on. And so what he does is the thing that Jacob said he was going to do. He feels for him. He wants to feel and see if he's smooth like the son Jacob or if he's that hairier, coarser texture of arm hair like the brother Esau. And so he feels him and he says in verse 22, Isaac says, you sound like Jacob. I know my sons. I know their voices, but you feel like Esau. And so he's conflicted in that moment because something's off and I don't know what's off. So it says in verse 23 that because his hands were hairy, like his brother, he shook it off. He was like, you know what, maybe it is what it is. Maybe it's okay. I'm reading too far into this and let me just let it go. And he trusted the way he felt. He trusted the way to touch, the way he felt, the hairiness of his arms is what he trusted because he knew his sons. And so in verse 24, he's like, look, I believe it's you. Bring me the food. And so he brings him the food and he eats. And then Isaac says, come here, son, come close to me. And when he comes close to him, he smells him. And he smells him to see what he smells like. Does he smell like he's been out in the field? Y'all know what it smells like when y'all have your kids outside and they are playing and running around and they come inside and they smell like all of outdoors. This son is a son who hunts, who prepares game, who's around animals. He's going to have a different scent than the one that's around the house in the shade chilling out. And so after he eats, Isaac tests again. Do you have the right smell? And the other part that of this is He's wearing his brother's clothes. So in verse 27, it says he smelled his raiment. He smelled his outfit. He smelled the clothes he was wearing. And it has his brother's scent on him. So the mom was really invested in messing with this because she not only orchestrated this whole thing, went to get got the skin of a goat and knew that the skin of a goat or that fur that was on a goat was what he would be feeling for. She went and got his clothes because he was like, he probably gonna smell them too. He gonna touch the back of his neck and need that to have some hair on it too. Like she went so far as to take the brother's clothes to make sure that everything that every of this man's senses would be fooled. And so in verse 28 and 29, he blesses his son. He blesses him. He says that he's going to be served by the people of the earth, that nations are going to bow down to him, that every curse that's on him is going to be on the people that cursed him. Every blessing he'll receive, but no curses he'll receive. And people who bless him will be blessed, and people who curse him will be cursed. He won't have any negative impacts from this. And that's one of the things that God promised Abraham way back when the promise began, was that the blessing was going to be on him. Nations were going to be blessed through him. He was going to be the father of a great number of nations. It was going to be more people than the sand and the dust and the stars. And so that promise went from Abraham to his son Isaac, and from Isaac now is passing it to his son, who he believes is Esau, but is in fact Jacob. And so in verse 30, Esau comes home. He has gone out, he has hunted, he has brought back this animal. He is not thinking anything crazy because it's his mom and his brother in the house. Who's expecting to be betrayed by your own household, let alone family, but your own household, your own mom will orchestrate something like this. And so he makes his food, he cooks it up, he brings it into his dad, and when he gets to his dad, he's like, Dad, I got what you asked me for. Here it is. Won't you go ahead and eat, and now you can bless me. And in verse 32, Isaac says to him, who are you? And he's like, I'm your son Esau. What are you talking about? Who am I? I just did what you asked me to do. Like, I know you're not seeing well, but is your mind okay? Because I understand how this works. Like, did you forget? And Isaac got scared. Isaac got nervous because he understood that the thing that he passed off, this sound a little bit like Jacob, but every other sense is telling me this is Esau. And so now he's like, you know what? They got me. Who was here before that brought me the food that I asked for? Because I blessed him. And so Esau hears this in verse 34, and he gets upset. He's like, well, bless me too. Like, there's got to be something less. You couldn't have given it all away. Like, what else is less? What else is left? Like, what else is there for you to bless and to pray over me? There has to be something left for me. I was following your instructions, Dad. Like, it has to be something for me. And in verse 35, this is kind of the cornerstone people stand on and say, Jacob stole his brother's blessing. I don't think Jacob stole his brother's blessing. I think Rebekah stole the blessing. I think he went along with the plan. And I think sometimes we need to be prepared to understand that we don't get to just follow the crowd. Sometimes we can't follow the instructions. We are going to have to be able to stand. And in this situation, Isaac is saying that Jacob came and tricked me. And in verse 36, it says, is he not rightly named Jacob? Because if you remember way back when they were born, Esau was born first, but Jacob was born holding on to his brother's foot. He came second. And what they decided was he was Jacob. Jacob means to be a supplanter or to be a deceiver, because he was trying to take his brother's place, not hold on to him to come out with him, but to hold on to him to pull him back so that he could be born first. And so Esau at this point is hot. he has realized that the birthright that he gave away before is gone, and now the blessing is gone. And as the oldest son, the one whom his father has treasured and has been closest to, he gets nothing. He is cut off out of here. And so he's in verse 36, he's like, he's rightly named Jacob because he has tricked me 2 times. He has taken something from me twice that were mine by birth. And he said he took my birthright and now he's taking the blessing. And Isaac said, I made him Lord. I made him the one that's going to govern. Lord, lowercase L, like if you think Lord, ladies, in like royalty, he gave him a position of authority over his other brother, not realizing he was giving it to the second one over the first. He thought he was giving to the first over the second. And he was like, look, I've given him the servants. I've given him everything. I've given him the authority. I've passed the blessing, the promise that God gave Abraham and in turn has given me. I have now given him instead of you. And like, what do you want me to do now? It's done. It's a done deal. And Esau was like, look, do you have just one blessing? Do you have anything that you can give me? Is there anything left for me? And he cries because he recognizes that he's lost it all. He traded away something thinking that it wouldn't matter because he was going to get the blessing. And then he misses the blessing. And now he recognizes he has nothing. And Isaac said, I got something for you. You won't be the ruler, but I can give you a prayer and a blessing of success. I can give you the blessing that you'll be supported and wealthy and that you'll be great in the space that you're in. You won't rule over the nations, but you will definitely be full in them. And he gives him this blessing, and that's what he has. And then he says that you're going to serve your brother because that's just the position that he's in now. And it'll happen that at some point in time, your generations are going to separate so that he'll no longer be ruler over you. So the younger brother will not forever be in rule over, meaning the descendants from one brother are not always going to stand in authority over the descendants of another brother. There will come a time where there'll be a breaking of that yoke. There'll be a breaking of this thing. I can't make it between the two of you all, but in future generations, this is going to be sorted out. And so we get to the end of this chapter and Esau is on fire. He is mad about it. And what he says is, it says in verse 41 that Esau hated Jacob because the blessing that he got, and he says, my dad ain't gonna live long. Out of respect for my father, I'm not gonna touch him. Out of respect for my father, I'm not gonna touch him. But the moment my daddy closes his eyes, I'm gonna kill my brother. Then I don't gotta worry about the blessing. I don't gotta worry about the birthright because it ain't gonna be nobody left to inherit it anyways. It's all gonna be mine. At this point, I'm gonna get it back by force. And Rebekah, who has been meddling and overhearing stuff and listening and been in the middle of all of this and created this controversy between her sons, created this animosity between her sons, this anger that really has one about to lose his life over something that she did. What she does is, instead of saying, look, it was my idea, I set this whole thing in motion, God made me a promise when you guys were still in my belly, and I thought I was doing the right thing, and I messed this whole thing up. Instead of falling on her sword, instead of being honest and open and getting it out, this lady says she calls Jacob and was like, look, your brother want to kill you. He mad at you. Like, he's mad and he wants to kill you. So I want you to go to my brother's house. I want you to go to my brother Laban's house, and I want you to stay there until your brother calms down, because he can't be mad forever, right? Wait until he calms down, and then I'll send for you to come back. Just stay there for a little while, a couple weeks. Not long at all. This will blow over. And then she goes to her husband and says, the daughters that Esau has are driving me crazy. So instead of letting him marry one of these women in this area, I'm going to send him back to my brother's area to go find a wife. She didn't even fess up to her husband, who now knows that he was tricked. So now he feels like his son is alone and complicit and lying to him on his own. She doesn't even fess up to the husband and to say that she meddled in this and messed it all up. She's like, hey, I'm gonna send him away to find a wife because these women around here are so terrible. Like she didn't even do anything to make the situation better. So I'm going to do a really quick recap and we are going to close this whole thing out. So in Genesis 27, the entire chapter, Jacob and Esau are twins. Isaac is their father. Rebekah is their mother. Isaac has gotten old and he tells his son Esau, who is the firstborn, I want you to go hunt down, some animals for me. I want you to make me a special meal and I want you to bring it to me. And when you bring it to me after I've eaten it, I'm going to bless you. I'm going to pass on the blessing that was passed to me to you. And I want you to know and understand that this is what I have for you, and I am excited about doing it. And so he goes out to hunt. Rebekah, the mom, overhears the whole thing and goes to her son that she treasures most, the son that she's closest to, and to Jacob and says, look, your daddy's about to give away this blessing. He wants to give it to your brother, but if we dress you up like your brother, and you go in there and you bring him the food that he's asking for, then he's going to go ahead and he's going to bless you and you can get the blessing and you can get the blessing the blessing of God from him. And that's what I want for you. Now, she goes so far as to get the brother's clothes, put the skin of a goat on this guy so he looks and feels like his brother. And as he goes in to talk to his dad, he brings him the food and the father eats it and the father knows, hey, this sounds like my son Jacob. I can't see that well, but he sounds like my son Jacob. So he touches him and he smells him and he does everything he can to ensure that he is blessing the correct son. And he has been hidden and disguised by the mother. So the blessing goes out to Jacob and Jacob goes on his way. Esau then returns from the field, cooks up this meal, goes to see his father. And his father was like, who are you? Because I already gave the blessings away. I already ate and gave the blessing. And Esau is livid. He is upset. He is hurt because his brother has now taken the birthright that he traded him. They traded. It wasn't a good trade, but it was a fair trade. And now he has the blessing. So the oldest son, who was entitled to both of these things, now has nothing. And the father is upset because he's gotten tricked. And so Esau is hot. He's on fire. He recognizes that his whole position as the oldest son, the closest to his father, is now worth nothing to him. It doesn't amount to anything because he doesn't have any of the blessing or birthright or any of the rights anymore. He doesn't have the authority anymore to assume this position as the new man of the family when his father passes. And so he is mad and determines that he's going to kill his brother. He said, as long as my daddy is alive, I won't touch him. But the moment my daddy closes his eyes, I'm going to take my brother out. I'm not doing this. He's played too many games and I'm not being part of this. Now, the mom, who has overheard all of this stuff because she just eavesdropping all the time, recognizes that her son is in danger. And so she sends him off to go stay with his uncle, her brother. And she goes and tells her husband, hey, I sent him away to go see Laban. I sent him away to go find a wife because I don't like the women in this area. She never fesses up to what she did. She never owns up to it. She allows her sons to hate each other when they didn't have to because she didn't say what she needed to say. She didn't clear the air. She didn't take responsibility for anything. She meddled and messed some stuff all up. So what we're going to take away from this is, 1, value what you have. Value your position, value your family, your friends, value whatever possessions that you have. Place some value on it and treat it well. And don't just give it away. Don't decide it's not worth that much. I can get something better. You can have it and treat it like it's nothing because that might be all you get. You might not get anything additional. You may not be able to get something different, something better. Now, I'm not saying don't be charitable. Don't hold on to stuff forever. You don't have to have everything you've ever owned, but place some value on the things in your life, on the people in your life. Make sure that you are settling issues, not holding grudges. These two brothers could have had a conversation and they could have worked this out, but they didn't. So make sure that we are taking care of each other. And let's be honest. Just be honest. All this trickeration wasn't necessary. All this trickery and foolishness and trying to put on goat skins and clothes, it's not necessary. Let's just be honest. God has a way of giving you what you're supposed to have. And it didn't take any of this foolishness to do it. God would have handled it a different way. And it would have been done without the hatred involved, without the disappointment, without the anger, without the foolishness and the lies. It wouldn't have been necessary. God would have gave him the blessing if the blessing was for him without it. So let what's for you be for you. You don't have to take it from somebody else to get it. Y'all be blessed.